All right, y'all, we have to talk about this ridiculous start that Giannis has gotten off to early on here in the season. He is putting up 36.3 points with 14 rebounds and 7 assists per game on 72% true shooting and doing it in under 33 minutes per game. On top of that, he is the first player in NBA history to put up 140 plus points, 50 plus rebounds, and 20 plus assists in the first 4 games of the season. So there is a historical context behind what Giannis has done here at the beginning of the season for Milwaukee. And we all knew this. This is a much thinner Bucks roster than what we are used to seeing over the last couple of seasons. There is no elite level all-star or secondary shot creator next to Giannis, where they had Dame the last couple of seasons, or Chris Middleton or Jrue Holiday. So given that, we knew we were going to have to see a dominant all-around version of Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? A lot of the offense is going to run through him in order to make things work and keep this team somewhat sustainable on that end of the floor. And I love it because I have always felt like Giannis has been very underrated as an all-around player. We all pay attention to his scoring, as he can be a 30-point per game scorer any season he wants to, and also his elite level defense. And he is great at those things, but he is also a very underrated offensive hub and playmaker, especially playmaker. I've always felt that Giannis's most underrated skill set is his ability to set other guys up and make plays from the power forward position. And we're seeing it so far in the season, putting up 7 assists per game as pretty much the best playmaker on the court for this team. Again, just a really good glimpse into how great he is as an all-around basketball player. Another thing I have said about Giannis in the past is this. Sometimes when people discuss Giannis and talk about him, they will define him by his limitations. He is not a great shooter, not a great free throw shooter, does not have an amazing, reliable three-point shot, all of those things. And while they are true, one thing Giannis does at a very high level, and why he has been a dominant player over X amount of years, is he is so good at playing to his strengths. I remember I was watching an episode of The Shop by LeBron, and I think this was like the first episode ever of that series, and they were on the topic of what makes a smart, high IQ basketball player. And the point they brought up was a player who knows how to play to his strengths and doesn't do things he is not sure about. That is a smart basketball player, and that is what we see with Giannis. He can have a weak jump shot. He can have an inability to consistently make free throws. He can have limitations as a three-point shooter, but he is dominant because he understands how to play to his strengths, and he does things that aren't too far out of his game and what he's great at that don't create issues for the team's offense as a whole. Again, just playing to his strengths, not doing too much he's not comfortable with, and that is why he has remained dominant over X amount of years. And that doesn't mean that Giannis has not gotten better over time, right? One thing also about Giannis you have to pay attention to is, while Milwaukee has been disappointing since winning that title back in 2021, Giannis has not stayed stagnant as a player. While he does play to his strengths, there were still some things he got better at over the course of time. He added different attack points, got better as a passer and playmaker. So Giannis back in 2021 is not the same player that Giannis is today. Got better a little bit as a mid-range shooter. Saw that a ton last year. Haven't seen it as much this year, but it's early. But Giannis, while playing to his strengths, has also improved as an all-around basketball player since winning that title back in 2021. So again, I know the Bucks have been disappointing as a team since winning that title, but you cannot blame it on Giannis and his stagnation. Giannis as a basketball player, as an all-around threat, has gotten better season in and season out, and that is why he has always continued to float in that conversation as the best player in the NBA. One Bucks player I've been extremely excited about early on here is Ryan Rollins. So obviously Milwaukee is trying to figure out the point guard situation in the post Damian Lillard era, which in my opinion was a very disappointing era and is one of the most disappointing player eras with the new team we have ever seen. I had high expectations for the Dame and Giannis duo, and we just never got that. But nonetheless, here we are, right? They're going to have to figure out this point guard situation, but Ryan Rollins seems like the answer to that question right now. He has been great, just had a dominant game against the Knicks, putting up 25 points on 4 for 4 from downtown, along with 4 assists and 4 steals. He is averaging 3 steals per game and making a case early on for all defensive team. He's this 6'2" point guard with ridiculous wingspan and arm length who can utilize his physical tools to create turnovers and disrupt opposing players. So again, just making a really strong case for all defensive early on, and also doing a lot on the offensive side of the basketball. Also does show some flashes as a really good floor spacer, which is going to be huge with closing out games, next to Giannis, who thrives with as much spacing as possible. Obviously, he's going to be competing with KPJ for that starting point guard spot for the rest of the season once KPJ is back out there on the court, and I do think KPJ is a solid player who is capable of having some really good games, but I think because of his defense and also just higher upside as a floor spacer and three-point shooter, and we just saw it last night, he makes a lot more sense next to Giannis in lineups, especially closing out games. And I think he did a good job at points of time, especially in last night's matchup against Jalen Brunson. Somebody they're 100% going to have to get past in the playoffs if they want to make anything meaningful happen come June. Now, the biggest question is this: how sustainable can Milwaukee be without having that dominant, elite secondary shot creator next to Giannis? Those teams that don't have that usually aren't the ones that are able to win championships. If you look at OKC, SGA was accompanied with Jalen Williams, who was an all-star perimeter player last year for the Thunder. The Celtics, you had Derek White next to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, along with Jrue Holiday. The Denver Nuggets, you were dealing with a guy like Jamal Murray playing next to Jokic, and also you had Michael Porter Jr. out there as a shot maker and occasional shot creator, right? So secondary shot creation is huge for a meaningful playoff run. So you do wonder, how sustainable is this going to be for Milwaukee, having Giannis pretty much run the offense without having an amazing secondary shot creator next to him? Now, it could be a thing where they can win by committee this entire season and have different guys step up at different points in time. But again, is that sustainable, especially once playoff time does roll around? So while this situation is a catalyst for an MVP season for Giannis, and I think the most dominant version of Giannis we are ever going to see, I do wonder how sustainable it's going to be, again, not having this amazing secondary shot creator next to Giannis and things like that. I wonder just how much this offense is going to stay within the top 10 of offensive rating throughout an 82-game year, playing this way without having that other all-star and shot creator. I do wonder about those things, but all in all, just a dominant, historic start for Giannis, once again making his case for the best player in the NBA. And I'm also loving what we're getting from Ryan Rollins as this elite level or potential elite level two-way player at the point guard position, a position where they needed a ton of help at after losing Damian Lillard in the offseason.